All right, everyone, welcome to our team huddle tonight. I hope you're having a wonderful Monday and start to your week. Brianne was going to be speaking, but she had a last minute doctor situation that she needed to wait for some results. So she is taking next week and I'll be taking tonight. So if you have heard about the book club that we're doing, we are currently reading Think and Grow Rich. And we will be moving on to this book that I'm going to be talking a little bit. I'm talking just a little bit on success and goals from this book called the 10X Rule. So if you would like to start reading more, that's going to be our next one. And it'll be in a few weeks when we start that. So you can be on the lookout. But this is just kind of a little teaser for that. And also just get us talking about success. So in the book, he talks about how success is our duty and our obligation and responsibility. It's not something that may or may not happen. It is not an option. It is always the result of actions that you perform and earlier actions as well that all come together. And he said that success comes about as a result of mental and spiritual claims to own it, followed by taking the necessary actions over time until it is acquired. So a lot of us get caught at that part where we can see it in our minds, but actually putting in the actions steps to go with it is kind of like where, or at least myself, I know I am notorious for getting ready and like I see it and visualize and I know it's coming and I'll do a little bit of action, whereas I need to take myself up to the next level. He said something that it's going to sound like, yeah, duh, but it's things people think. There's actually no shortage of success out there. It's not like a zero-sum game. It's not like, oh, Ryan was successful, so that takes it away from me. And now I have less of a chance to be successful. No, that's not it at all. It is something that we create, and it's not something that we acquire. So if it was something that was acquired, then yes, there could be a shortage of it, but it's not. We create it. So there's no more excuses of saying, oh, I can't do it because she did it or whatever. And it cannot be restricted in any way as well, except for what you think and do, or what you don't think and you don't do. So that's the only way you are the one who places your own restrictions on your success, no one else. And he said that what you should start doing is shifting your thinking when you see others' achievements to believe, instead of being jealous or, like I just said, believing that, oh, well, she did it, so now I can't. You want to start thinking that like, hey, this is creating an opportunity for me. Oh, if Ryan can get the car, then I can get the car. If Tara can become a director, I can become a director, so on and so forth. So you should start using that as much as you can. Oh, if she can hit MMB, then I can hit MMB. And it might be a different timeline, and that's okay because it is your timeline. You need to start thinking of success as your ethical duty, and this will motivate the most creative parts of you to find the solution and the way to win, or the way in which you can create original success in abundant amounts. So instead of thinking of it as like, oh, I can or can't have it, just be like, no, it is my duty to be successful. And you determine what successful is also, is a big theme of the book as well. Okay. People who typically succeed are required to take big actions, and it is impossible to take big actions if you don't take responsibility. It is equally impossible to do something positive when you're spending your time making excuses, and we all do it. And sometimes life happens and we constantly feel like, well, that's life. It really isn't an excuse. Well, guess what? There's some lady in here somewhere that everyone knows that will call me out on it in a heartbeat. Like, well, why didn't you wake up an hour earlier then, or 30 minutes earlier, or why didn't you stay up 30 minutes later? And I'm like, oh, you're right. So we can stop making excuses and we can start pushing ourselves to do the actions. And if you want to be successful, you're going to have to do big actions. That's it. Like, there's no other options. Success is something that happens because of you and the actions you take. It's not something that happens to you. It's something that happens because of you. Whatever is going on in your world is because of you, whether in control or not. Claim responsibility and control so you can do something to improve your situation going forward. So for example, myself, I had no control over the fact that my kids were not going to school in person. So I had to claim my responsibility in that situation and like, okay, well, I know I have to be around my kids during this time of this window of time. I should not plan, if I want to be successful, I shouldn't plan to work my business during that time frame because I know I'm most likely going to be pulled away. So as soon as I acknowledge responsibility of the fact that, like, instead of just saying, oh, it's out of my hands, I don't have control, I had to take that, and then it pushed me to find other alternatives. And that's what will happen to you too. If you have a roadblock and you claim the responsibility, then you will be able to move through that a lot quicker when you just own responsibility. And another thing he talks about with the responsibility thing is, like, even when it's not your fault, claim responsibility. And that's a hard thing to learn. And when you read the book, you're going to see more on that. But it's like, oh, okay, I could do this, I can do that, and find ways around it. Okay, things happen because of something you did or didn't do. You will look ahead for solutions to reduce the occurrence of seemingly random, unfortunate events whenever you're accepting responsibility for your actions and for what's happening to you. So if you are like, bad things keep happening to you and you're like, oh, I can't catch a break. Guess what you just put out into the universe? I can't catch a break. So guess what's going to happen? More bad things are going to start happening to you. So what you have to do is you have to start stopping yourself and saying, oh, I don't know how I'm going to get through this yet, but I'm going to figure it out. And you have to, like, oh, that was kind of crummy, but guess what? It's over, it's done. I'm moving forward and I'm going to have good things and start attracting good things. Never claim the position of victim after deciding to create a life full of success. Instead, figure out how to reduce the chances of inconveniences. Take massive action. But that's hard work. So is not succeeding. Choose your hard. I know you guys have all seen those, like, quotes out there. Being broke is hard too. Massive action creates new problems, and new problems are a good thing because they mean that you're growing. When you're taking massive action, you're not thinking in terms of how many hours you work or how much money you're making. You're thinking about the long term. You're thinking about what happened. You're going to approach it as like your life. You're going to start approaching everything starting tomorrow or tonight, if you're still working tonight, as though your life depends on it because your future depends on it. And your future is part of your life. So it definitely does. When you start shifting your mindset, your results will shift. It's just a matter of fact. It will happen. People might label you. They'll be like, oh, you're a workaholic. Oh, all you do is have your phone in your hand. So what? Who cares? It's your financial future. It's your heart that grows every time you get that new VIP, and then 10 months down the road, that VIP is messaging you, or you're helping this person and you just sign somebody else up. It is your business that you're working. And if you went to a job outside of your home that didn't require you to have your phone in your hand, they wouldn't tell you, like, oh, you're always at your office. So who cares what they say? Put that to the side and be like, okay, yep, I am, and move on. You won't be labeled by someone else who is successful because they know what it takes. So all the people who are labeling you those things, they're not successful. They're not the ones you listen to. Success means making somewhat unreasonable choices and then following it up with even more action. So you want to, like, push yourself to the somewhat unreasonable level. You're like, okay, here's my comfort zone. Here's crazy. And I'm going to go right here in the middle. And then you want to push yourself into even more action to get there. It can never hurt you, and it will always help you. This is one place where quantity is more important than quality, which is with action. You want to have more action because in the beginning, you're probably going to suck. We all kind of suck. And even not even in the beginning, if you've had like momentum's here and then you kind of come down and you're trying to get your momentum going up again, you might suck again. But guess what? You're going to get through it. And I know I think Terry even said this on one of the most recent calls. You can't say the right thing to the wrong person, and you can't say the wrong thing to the right person. So if you mess up, who cares? You're human. They know you're human. They're not going to expect you to be perfect. Now he talks about average is failing. Average actions crumble when met with resistance. You are never safe to move to normal levels of involvement and activity. So if you're only doing an average amount of actions, you're not going to become successful, because as soon as you get hit with a no, you're going to be like, oh gosh, that hurt. Oh, I'm just done for the day. But if you're in massive action, and I think actually Tara said this to me at the beginning of when I started, talk to so many people that you don't even know who's not talking back. And it works, you guys. As soon as you start talking to so many people, you'll be like, I don't even know who's ghosting me right now. Who do I need to follow up with? And he said, once you achieve those massive levels, keep pushing yourself, keep pushing yourself, keep pushing yourself. That's how you're going to get through it and get better. Change your commitment and thinking to be far above average. This will immediately influence other areas of your life as well. So not just your business, it'll influence you as a person, you as a parent, you as a friend, you as a daughter, so on and so forth. The number one problem, people optimistically overestimate how well things will go, and they underestimate how much energy and effort it will take. So if you think back to like in the beginning when you started, or when you had a new market partner start and they were so excited, and then they think that like you can feed them like the future vision, right? Or they may see the future vision because they might see, all these people coming in hot and heavy and blah, blah, blah. And then they're like, oh, I can do it that fast. Well, whenever they don't do it that fast because they didn't put in the same amount of work, then they think that, I didn't do it. I can't do it. Well, you have to be upfront with people. You have to be upfront with yourself. You have to say, if I want big results, I have to do big actions, and it's going to take a lot of work. And don't, like he said, don't worry about the amount of hours you're spending and how much money you're making. You need to be worried about the results that you're getting. Prepare for massive, persistent action, and you will win. Average never yields anything more than average, and usually it yields much less. And it's called average for a reason, right? So 10x goals. Now we're going to move into talking about goals. And this is going to be some of these points are kind of different than things you've heard before. Oh my goodness, you guys, I just saw I'm sorry, this total squirrel moment. Megan's away picture of her in the shower, and I thought she was live in the shower. Okay, I'm coming back in on the goals. Okay. The major reason people don't stick to goals and they fail to accomplish them is because they fail to set them high enough from the very beginning. Reality is, if you start small, you are probably going to go small with your actions. People's failure to think big enough means they will never act big enough, and often enough, or persistently enough. So he says, and I think we've talked about this in other trainings too, like you want to aim just a little bit above what you're actually pushing for in the beginning. But he's like, no, just go dream big and like push yourself. What would an SED be doing if that's what your goal is? If your goal is MM, then what would an MM be doing? And you have to, if you're like, okay, well, I'm just going to get to this small one, you're going to think on a smaller scale. You're going to reach out on a smaller scale. You're going to get smaller scale results. So to maintain your enthusiasm, you have to make goals substantial enough that they keep your attention. And you have to revisit them often. If you are achieving some, you need to go bigger. You need to keep adding new goals. If you haven't achieved them, then you need to check yourself. What am I not doing? Am I not putting in enough action? You have to evaluate them. Things upon which your life depends most are based on the actions you take daily. So you should be doing it daily, working towards your goals. And he says he always does two things when it comes to goals. Number one, he writes down his goals every day. And he said he does that in the morning and at night. So he writes them down twice a day. And then he chooses objectives that are just out of reach. And then when he achieves those, he keeps pushing himself and keeps pushing himself. So if goals are so small, you don't need to consider them on a daily basis, then you are going to lose an interest. You're going to lose all interest. And you want to word your goals as though you've already accomplished them. Can you look in my purple bag and there's a black skinny notebook that says something about dreaming? Because I have some of mine in that. It's on the bed. And then morning and at night, he said that when you first wake up, you want to have your goals fresh in your mind because they're gonna keep you motivated to do the action steps that you need to do throughout the day. And if you start feeling like you're losing that, spend time reading or writing or saying your goals again. And then you want to do it before bed because when you go to sleep, you are dreaming of it and it's the first thing you think of when you wake up as well. Okay, so I copied some of his that he had, and I can share my list in Team Believe or with Stephanie, and she can share with other leaders if they want. But some of the ways that he wrote his goals, and your goals might be different. I'm just gonna say this because I pulled the ones that pertain to me. I am in perfect health and physical condition. My income is blank dollars a month. My net worth is blank, whatever you want your net worth to be. My marriage is alive and healthy and a positive model for others. I have 4 amazing and healthy children. I am more in love with my husband every day, so on and so forth. Okay. Average goal setting cannot and will not fuel massive action. So if you only have like minimum stuff, we've already talked about that, you will not be motivated to do big action. The bigger and more unrealistic your goals are, and the more they're aligned with your purpose and duty, the more they'll energize and fuel your actions, even through resistance. So I can speak to this personally. I have been pushing for MM for a while, and I've been right there so many times, but it's because I've had like that big goal, and actually my real goal is like SED. But because I know I have that big goal of SED, I have gone through having that, like being right there and then not being right there and then being right there and not being right there. And I will not give up because it's happening. I don't know when. And that's what I always say. I don't know when it's happening, but it's happening. So if you need to use that when you're trying to reach your goals, please do. Put it in there and start saying it. And when you start saying it and thinking it, I promise you, you'll start feeling it. And then you'll be like, it is coming. I told Ryan and Tara that recently. Like, it's coming. I don't know when, but it's coming. I feel it. When you're setting a goal, be clear about what you want it for and then tie it to a greater purpose. And I think Amy's done a training on that too. But you want to like ask yourself why 5 to 7 times to get to like, why is this goal? And that'll make it so clear. And then there's a mindset training about visualizing that. And that's what I heard earlier on in my business that really has helped me. So like, I'll stop and I'll really like see myself like getting in that Cadillac and driving it, or I'll see myself truthfully walking up on stage to get that MDC jacket. And all I do is win is playing in the background. So have a song, have a word, have something that ties it. So when you need that pumped up, you can bring it in. And then tie it to a bigger purpose. So my bigger purpose is I do want to like do some charity work. I still am not really sure personally which one it's going to be, but I really love Jessica Shoney's compassion centers. So that's kind of one that I'm toiling over in my head while I'm getting to SED. You don't have to wait till you're SED to do that stuff, but I just need to get better footing before I do any kind of progressing towards that goal. Okay, your goals are the fuel, the actions. Your goals are there to fuel the actions you will need to take So make them big and make them often, and then tie them in with your other greater purpose. Never set realistic goals. He says he hates the word realistic. You can get a realistic life without setting goals for it. You already have it. And I'm almost at the end. I have one more page. Realistic thinking is based on what others think is possible, but they are not you, and they have no way of knowing your potential and your purposes. So, 6 things to take into account when you're setting goals. Number 1, you're setting the goals for you, not anyone else. Number 2, anything is possible. Number 3, you have much more potential than you realize. Number 4, success is your duty, obligation, and responsibility. Number 5, there is no shortage of success. And number 6, regardless of the size of the goal, it will require work and action or action. If anyone needs me to repeat that, I can. You can just put it in the chat and I'll tell you what each number was. But if you underestimate your potential, then it's impossible to set appropriate sized targets. So that's why he encourages people to set bigger goals and then believe that you can actually do it. So the 10X rule is not for everyone. It is for the few people obsessed with creating an exceptional life and who want to be in charge of that process. It removes concepts of luck and chance from your business equation and shows you exactly the mindset you must embrace in order to lock in massive success. So he recommends you set 10X targets, so meaning big targets. You align them with your purposes, and you write them down every single day when you wake up and before you go to bed. And that's it, you guys. Does anyone have any questions? Thank you, Amy, for dropping that.
Candace, I just want to say that was awesome training. A couple of things that you mentioned just about success not being optional and you putting in the work because you want to see the results. The other thing that there's no shortage of success, that there aren't just a set number of spots, that instead of comparing and thinking there's a limited number, know that you're creating your own spot. I took so many notes. And I love that you said that you have a different timeline. Like we all have this timeline in our head, and it's like, we had that conversation, I think this weekend, or maybe Ryan and I talked about it another time, but who sets that timeline? Or maybe it was another training. We set that timeline in our head, and it's like, where does that come from? Like, who cares if it takes you a year to MMB and it takes somebody else 6 weeks? Like, you're still going to get there. You're still going to get your goal. Another thing that I wanted to mention, oh yeah, happy birthday, Casey. Forgot about that.
Happy birthday, Casey.
Another thing that I wanted to mention that you brought up was to work like your future depends on it, because it does. It truly does. And there's another book called The Slight Edge that's really good, and we should probably read that one too. But he talks about the small actions repeating daily. So it's like you and another person start at the same starting line. So say like you and somebody else sign up the same day and you start your business the same day, you have access to the same, as we all do, access to the same resources, team huddles, information, all of it. But you decide that you're going to do the power hours every week, or you're going to set your daily minimum that you're going to do, and the other person doesn't. Well, you do that day in and day out, and it puts you so far ahead of the other person, even though every day it doesn't look like you're doing that much more, because it's just those small things you're doing every day. You get just miles ahead of the other person because they're not putting in that daily work. So this training was super powerful. Thank you so much for pouring into everybody, especially because you just got back from your trip and it was so last minute. So you are awesome.
Yeah, that's why I forgot it was Monday, Casey. I scared everybody in the book club too. I was like, I don't think I'm going to make the book club tonight. But yeah, when I was reading this, I mean, this whole book, man, I think I underlined the whole book. And I told Drew, I was like, I have to read this book again. But this part, I was like, oh, I got to write that down. And I actually wrote it down a couple weeks ago, but it's just like, he's like, there's no other options. You got to take the options off the table. And when he says it's your duty, your obligation, and your responsibility, just like it is to like feed your kids, it's your duty to be successful. And he believes that about everybody. So, but like he said, everyone's not going to believe it about themselves. So I was like, yeah, I found this very powerful, and I can't wait to reread the book.
I'm looking forward to reading it too. Does anybody have any questions for Candace while we've got her? Thank you again, Candace, for doing this.
Take a picture because I don't have my phone. I guess I could try to do one on my computer. Let me see. No, not speaker. Yeah. Real quick.
Smile real quick and I'll take it.
Okay.
Got it.
Thank you. I was like, my phone is not. All right. Thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful
night,
day.
y'all.
Get out there and crush it.
Thank you. Happy birthday, Casey.
Thank you. Thanks,
Happy
Candace.
birthday.
Happy birthday.
You look beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
You do. Are you doing anything fun?
I actually just got back from dinner. My adoptive Florida parents took me out to dinner, but I felt